Growing up, my mother used to tell me that I'm the most stubborn child she's encountered. You see, I think this is due to the fact that I am a contrarian in nature. My father is an immunology professor, and my two elder siblings followed suit into the medical world, as my brother Humphrey is a biochemist, my sister Linda is a pharmacist. Somehow, I also thought that I would land into that direction, but shock on me, I found myself in public relations. And my younger brother Michael also followed suit, and he is into human resource. You see, being a contrarian and growing up used to land me in so much trouble. And I grew up in the era where parents really believed in the phrase, spare the rod, spoil the child. I remember this one time, my father had just come back from his studies in the US, and he had bought me this nice pair of shoes. And because it was third term, he advised me to wait on the new year so that I can go to school with new shoes. But I didn't listen. The next morning, I went to school with the shoes. Coming back that evening, I had lost the shoes. And I was thoroughly whipped by my dad. He even told me that he's going to add one more stroke every time I come back home without the shoes. So if today was 14, tomorrow it's 15, and so on and so forth. And this went on for a while until he gave up. So you guys can tell how eventful my childhood was. Fast forward to high school, I went to Vihiga High School. I joined Vihiga High School in 2001. And I can say that's where I discovered my love for rugby. And I can say I went into rugby in a kind of an accidental way. As you know, it was the norm during those days when you join high school, you're being asked to join a club or a team for your co-curricular activities. My first choice was football. And going onto the football field, there was a huge crowd. It's like every first former was playing football. Everybody had gone there to try their luck. But because that time I wasn't very good with lines and crowds, I decided to leave. And as I was leaving, I looked over the other side of the field and I saw a small group of guys throwing around and kicking an oval-shaped ball. I decided to go there, and that's when it hit me, aha, this is rugby. The sport Humphrey told me that he was playing back in high school at St. Peter's Momia's boys. I joined them, they welcomed me, I joined them, and my first touch of the ball, I got hooked. I got hooked to the sport so much that it started affecting my studies, my academics. And in Form 2, finishing Form 2, I was asked to repeat because my grades were very low. And I really felt bad. I felt bad because now my friends would have moved on, and now I'll be the old guy in the new class, the guys will be laughing at. And you guys don't even want to know how it was back at home when I broke the news to the professor. Because that is a story for another day. But luckily, we used to have these welcome back from the holiday exams. I don't know how many of you used to have them. And let me tell you, I have never been prepared for an exam the way I was prepared for this specific exam. School reopened, went to school, did the exam, and I passed. The deputy principal had to summon me in his office to explain myself. But he made me promise that if I promised to continue keeping up the good grades, he'd let me continue with the rest of the class. And I can say this is where I had to learn how to prioritize things, and I also had to learn the balance between my rugby and my academics. I kept the promise, and I cleared high school. And now that I was free to do what I love, which is play rugby, I came back to Nairobi because I was born in Nairobi but grew up in Eldoret. I came to Nairobi and I joined Ulinzi Rugby Club, where my elder brother Humphrey was playing. But later on it was disbanded, and I went on and joined Mwamba Rugby Club, which has been my home for the last 14 years. And on joining Mwamba, I decided to set myself a goal. And my goal was to play for the national team. And you see, when I joined Mwamba, I was playing for the Team 2. And Team 2 plays in Division 2. It's the lower leagues. And I got called up to the national 15-a-side team while I was still playing Division 2. And Division 2, during those days, used to be the ultimate Division 2. You would go to a game, there are no fans, it's just you, your teammates, your opponents. Most times you'd go to a game, the referee is nowhere to be seen. Other times we'd go to a game, but somehow we used to decide the duration of the game, depending on how much we are losing by. And me just getting called up to the national team while playing that Division 2 really showed me something. It really showed me that when you focus on the process, most likely the end result would be in your favor. And by process here, I mean the rigorous training we used to do with my friends. Because we had a group of guys who we had all cleared high school, so we had nothing to do, basically. And we used to meet up at 3 p.m., go to the gym and do our poorly drafted gym program. Then after that, we'd go to the field, play touch rugby till around 5:30 p.m., where now the rest of the senior guys and the rest of the team now comes for the official club training. And we will still train with them till around 7 p.m. And we used to do this on a daily basis, from Monday to Friday. Saturday we have a game, we play the game. But then some other times when you're free on Sunday, we also used to do it. So for those of you who might be playing Division 2 at work or in life, there's hope. Eh? And after playing like 3 games for the 15-a-side team, I then got called up to the Kenya Sevens team, the national Sevens team, by the then coach Benjamin Aimba. And on joining the Sevens team, I played my first full season in the 2008-2009 season. I finished that season as the top try scorer of that season with 42 tries. And for those of you who don't know tries is like scoring a goal in rugby. And this was in my wildest dreams. Because here I knew I had already achieved my dream, which is to play for the national team. But now here I am, being the top try scorer with 42 tries. And this just affirmed my belief in focusing on the process. And because of this achievement, I got called up down to South Africa to try out for the Stormers. For those of you who don't know the Stormers is like the Manchester United of rugby in South Africa. Yeah? I don't know if I'm making sense. It's the club every rugby player in South Africa would want to play for. And on going down there, I got a massive culture shock. Landed to the airport, I was picked up, taken to the training facilities. And on reaching there, I was being shown around. I was taken to this huge, fully equipped rugby-specific gym. Then I was taken to another room which was full of nutritional supplements. It was like walking into a supermarket just selling supplements. Then I was taken to another room which had like 20 massage tables. It was the massage room, apparently. Then there was another room, steam room, hot room, things that I've never experienced before. I did my medicals with the Stormers, I passed, and I started training with them. I trained with the Stormers for 2 weeks, but I had to come back home to play the Safari Sevens tournament because that was part of the deal. If I go down there, I have to come back and play my home tournament. And that day I had packed my backpack, knowing that it's just a weekend back in Nairobi and I'm back in South Africa. But my handler then, who was also the strength and conditioning coach for the Stormers, advised me to carry everything. And because I was very naive, I did that. I carried everything. We reached the airport, he gave me my ticket. And when I looked at the ticket, it was a one-way ticket. At first, I was very skeptical, but again, I was hopeful, because when I asked him about the return, he told me that it shall be sent to me. I came back home, played the tournament, which we won, by the way, and I got in contact with the team manager. But on getting in contact with the team manager, it was excuse after excuse after excuse. Then finally, I received a long email from them, very long. But all I got from that email was that I was too small to play rugby. The email stated that if I still feel I want to go back down in South Africa, then I'll have to go through a 6-month bulking program, of which I won't be guaranteed any game. Yes, they promised there'll be food. Yes, they promised there'll be shelter, but there will be no remuneration. But something that really got to me is they said at the end of the email that even after the 6 months of bulking, I am still not guaranteed a spot in the team. And I felt very disappointed. I felt really disappointed to the point that I even thought, now I can stop playing rugby because I had already achieved what I wanted to achieve, which was play for the national team. It really felt bad. It felt like a child who has been given a lollipop, had 2-3 licks, then snatched away. But because over the years I've always had a strong relationship with my dad, even after the beating, we had a discussion with my father, and this is where I came to a decision that I needed a backup plan. I needed a backup plan because even if I had gone down South Africa, they bulked me up, then they sent me back home. I would be coming back to nothing. And that's when I decided to further my studies. That's when I decided to join Daystar University and do my degree in public relations. And on joining Daystar, I again started struggling between balancing education and my rugby. And because now it's the national team, it was even worse because the time that is needed and the commitment that's needed when you play for the national team is a lot. I mean, I used to wake up at 5 a.m. every day, go for training. Then I would rush to class, to school, and have my classes. Then I would still rush back to training for the evening training session. And honestly speaking, most time I never made it for the morning classes. And not because of the traffic that's usually there. It was because of the heavy breakfast that I used to take after the training session. But as I was getting the balance between rugby and academics, I decided to set myself a goal. And this time, I went big. I went big because I was told I was too small to play rugby. And my goal was, I wanted to be the all-time leading top try scorer in the world. A goal that took me 9 years to achieve. And in those 9 years, I've had several challenges and sacrifices that I've had to make. I mean, just to mention, I've missed games because of school, and vice versa. I've missed school because of games. I've missed games due to injuries. I've also missed a whole season and a few tournaments because I was kicked out of the team, and not because I was indisciplined, because of the stand I used to take regarding certain issues concerning the team. And many more. I've even sacrificed family time. I mean, I've missed the birth of my first child because I was in Las Vegas playing rugby. And up to now, I still don't know if my wife has fully forgiven me. And not all has been rosy in trying to achieve this goal. I've had instances where I have I've deviated from focusing on the process and focused on the goal. And when I did that, things started to crumble and things started to fall apart. And I remember in the 2016 season, when I was, I think, 10 tries away from breaking the record, I was really focused on that moment of breaking the record because I knew what it would come with. Number one, I started focusing on the media coverage I would get because now I knew not only will I be the first Kenyan, I'll be the first African to do so. I also started focusing on other things that don't matter. I started focusing on the guy who was right behind me, chasing after me in tries. I also started focusing on those people who were not happy for me for going through this achievement, and so on and so forth. And I remember playing tournaments after tournaments and coming out of those tournaments without scoring a single try. But going on to that last tournament in that season, I told myself one thing. I had to remind myself that I need to go back to focusing on the process. And the one thing that I told myself is that I'm going to play my role in the team to the best of my ability. And by just doing that, it really lifted a lot of pressure off me. I went to the tournament, played the tournament, and I ended up breaking the record. And this time was a very special time because the person who passed the ball to me to score the record-breaking try was my biggest rugby model, who was my rugby inspiration, who up to now is still my number one critic. The person who passed the ball to me was Humphrey, my brother. And even to make it more special is that my father, who is my life role model, who has always advised me about life, and my mother, who has always supported me throughout my career through her prayers. And they were both there to witness me achieving this. And I have achieved a couple of more things as well, in those 9 years. I have managed to be an Olympian. I've been awarded Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya by the President, the OGW Award. But most importantly is that I have managed to get a family of my own. I have a very supportive and understanding, beautiful wife with whom we have 3 kids. So I know to some of you, the 9 years might look like a long time to chase a dream or to chase a goal. But trust me, it's not. When you focus on the process, when you focus on those little things that needed to be done for you to be able to achieve the goal, it doesn't look that long. So if you have a dream, dream big. I mean, don't be afraid, but just know you have to focus on the process, because during that process is where the magic happens. And during that process is where you get your opportunities. And when I used to get my opportunities, I always reminded myself one thing, that it's never about the opportunity of a lifetime. It's about the lifetime of that opportunity. Thank you.